Carl Hancock Rux, and yeah, born in Harlem, and yeah, I grew up pretty much in Manhattan. I think expression is expression, so I didn't just want to recite words. You know, I wanted to be able to chant it if I needed to. You know, be able to sing it if I needed to. Because I have a lot of thoughts, and I make a lot of juxtapositions. It's just me, period. I was just walking down the street and found my voice. Literature was really the first thing that I ever cared about. I mean, books and writing was all I ever wanted to do, all I ever wanted to be. But to be able to expand the definition of it for myself without having to, you know, succumb to, you know, the rules and the boundaries that have already been set, you know, by the canonists, by the people who, you know, have deemed how art is supposed to express itself and what it's supposed to be. Being able to sort of break myself outside of those rules and still say I'm a writer, whether or not I'm singing these words or, you know, putting these words on the page for you to read, or whether or not I'm writing a play with a bunch of people, you know, acting out and bringing their own abilities and talent to those words so that we can have some kind of a, you know, illustration, allegory of life as I saw it. It all comes from that power of being told at a young age, like in high school, that I had the right to express myself. I think so many kids, especially the kids I grew up around in Harlem and the Bronx, we weren't really taught self-expression. You know, I started to hang out a lot with a choreographer, Marley's Yearby, who choreographed Rent on Broadway. This is, of course, way before that. We just started hanging out one day, and we started to act really silly with each other. She was a dancer and kind of free and crazy, and, you know, and I was a writer, and we were just really just improvising together, and we wound up creating work together up at Aaron Davis Hall. And at that time, Aaron Davis Hall in Harlem was one of the few places where, you know, young artists of color were able to present new works that were alternative and that weren't necessarily mainstream or commercial, you know, or conventional. And I started hanging out with New York Poets Cafe, so then that's obvious. Miguel Green, brilliant, crazy, wild, lovely, would never let you get away with work that you hadn't worked on, didn't care about your flow as much as he cared about your craft, the craft of writing. This is really before people were getting, you know, record deals as poets and, you know, TV commercials and all this. And so none of us, and it wasn't even nobody was reaching for that. You know, nobody was, I didn't feel like anybody was trying to become famous from this. I felt like, you know, we were downtown with the people who lived in that neighborhood and inheriting a tradition, because we knew the tradition that preceded us, and we knew about, you know, Tato La Vieta, and we knew, you know, about Lucky Cienfuento, and we knew, you know, about Miguel Pinheiro, and all these poets that had been there and walked through that room and had created such incredible work. So we were just after that tradition, you know, we were after that craft. And so it was Paul Beatty, and it was Tracy Morris, and it was Reggie Gaines, and this is all before, you know, he was writing, you know, plays or, you know, William Sabian. I mean, it was just, people were just in the room. And I have a friend who's a musician and a performer named Toshi Regan, and she has an annual birthday concert. The night that I performed, Nona Hendrix was there, the famous, you know, singer and songwriter, used to be with LaBelle, and way back when they were Patty and the Bluebells and all that. And of course, she's had her own records, about 8 of them, I think, actually, as a solo artist.
Right.
So such an amazing woman. I mean, you know, a black woman who's totally about the alternative, completely about, you know, our music, but about how our music takes other forms, how it does its own thing, you know, how we can stretch it. Yeah, and she wanted to work with me and asked me whether or not I'd ever been in a recording studio before, whether or not I'd had any thoughts or aspirations of making records. And I said no, though I had recorded on a few people's albums, but, you know, I wasn't thinking of being a recording artist necessarily. That wasn't my aspiration. And she kind of introduced that whole idea in my head. She had her own studio down on 55th Street. And, you know, and we were doing our thing, and actually we did a few concerts together. And so people started to take notice of it. Polly Anthony, who was the president of Epic, actually was coming down to hear me, and then she started inviting all these other execs from Sony, and then they started actually paying for the concerts. Like, they would actually book, like, the New Eurekan as a private concert for them, you know, which was, you know, really wild. And then other labels, so when that kind of thing starts happening, you get a lot of labels coming down. So I remember that summer that You know, I ate pretty well because it was like Atlantic would come down, all these labels, and they take you out to dinner, and they, you know, just sit and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. You know, just like people love to do that. And I really kind of felt Sony. I felt Polly Anthony as a person. I felt where she was coming from. I felt how she appreciated the music. I liked that she was the first, you know, record exec to come down, and then came down a few times, and it never felt like it was always about business. It felt sometimes like she was coming down to like unwind, like she was there to have a good time and was appreciating the environment and the music. You know, it's easy to not meet the right people if you don't have the right people on your side who are constantly pushing through the crowd and saying, okay, he's important, he's important, he's important, get over there, shake his hand. Then you kind of, you know, it's easy, or even if you just don't even have your own people who are like, you know, let's get this on the road, you know, you kind of you can get lost in that stream. And especially if they don't see you as pop right away.
Hell no, ain't no, hell no, won't be no black male show showing today. No,
started out as a poem in response to an exhibit. I'd gone to the Whitney Museum to see the Black Male Show, which was curated by Thelma Golden, and it had all these various artists, and the whole point of it was to track and represent or misrepresent the, you know, the icon of the black male figure. So, you know, it's first time, so this is pretty monumental. It's the first time you kind of see this. It wasn't the artist that was on exhibit. In a way, it wasn't even the art. It was the symbol, you know, and that symbol, you know, it was the icon. And that icon happened to, you know, be me. You know, black male, you know, is it, you know, that was the complete definition of that exhibit. And I remember leaving and feeling kind of angry. Not because they misrepresented the black male necessarily, not because, you know, I didn't understand anything, or because at that time also remember there was so many books and discussions about the black male. You know, Hakeem Badaboudi had written a book about black men. You know, and even a little earlier than that exhibit, but still, I mean, there were all these things and all these discussions and all these, you know, statistics coming out about black men and about, you know, our survival and, you know, or our demise. And then there's this exhibit which at the time I think felt abundant, felt ostentatious. It felt like it was a crowded room full of ideas of the iconography of the black male figure, but I did not feel represented. I still didn't feel like I had a voice. That I was imagining that there was the announcement that I read that there would be a black male show, but that everybody would get down to the museum and the doors would be shut, and there would be a black man standing in front of the door saying, hell no, won't be no show. It's the show itself is what's been going on for hundreds of years. It's been going on for too long, that show. You've got to be able to say when you're going to be on stage and when you're not. You know, and I don't just mean in entertainment. I mean, you know, from being in the newspaper, she snatches somebody's bag, from, you know, being a basketball star, getting millions of dollars and then you're dropped, and from, you know, from being on a record label and being dropped, or whatever it is you're going to do, from being famous, but, you know, somehow like doing things in a weird way. It's like, who's the show for? You know, it's not just happening to you, it's not just happening to me, it's happening to women in this country, it happens to other people of color in this country, it happens to people with other sexual choices in this country. You know, there's always a way to marginalize people, and there's supposed to be one center, you know, that defines the country, and everybody else becomes other. And that's the whole point of the push, for everybody to sort of like work through it so that it's no longer about the show, the display of my icon, my personality, you know, my perceived being. You know, you can't have that. I don't want, you know, sometimes I might give that to you because I want to shuck and jive and tap dance for you, you know, while I'm doing what I have to do for me. At the same time, if I can do that to divert your attention for a second, to still get to where I want to go, then maybe sometimes I'll do that, but, you know, but I have to control this thing. I think in essence I wrote that poem because I felt like the Whitney exhibit had the wrong producers, you know, of the Black Male Show. And until somebody finds the right producer, it shouldn't be a show. It's got to be something more than that.
Back from your European tour with beer and blow, you be composing broken.